Hello everyone, Namaste. My name is Harsh, and in this video, we will be talking about a new topic. And this topic will be related to the international trade and international economics and it is a actually important event for the global economy as well as the South Asian economy. So, the topic for today is RCEP and what does it mean for China in economics and geopolitical context. So, RCEP is the abbreviation for Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. Now, this agreement uh, is between the 10 ASEAN neighbors plus the other Asian and Pacific countries such as China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. So, if you do not know what is ASEAN organization, so ASEAN is a organization, economic and political organization of 10 nations, and the full form of it is Association for Southeast Asian Nations. So RCEP agreement is a agreement between 10 ASEAN countries plus the five countries which I just mentioned about. And as I mentioned before, in this video, we'll be talking about how China sees what does RCEP agreement mean for China in economics and geopolitical terms. So let's see what is RCEP agreement. Let's go through the timeline of this agreement. So negotiations for RCEP agreement started in the year 2012, in late 2012, and it continued till November 2020 when when all the participating countries validated the agreement. They signed the agreement, and this agreement was signed during the time of coronavirus, so it was a virtual signature ceremony. And India as a country, India was in the initial negotiations of the RCEP agreement, but it decided to opt out because of its contradictions with other member nations. So India is not currently a part of RCEP agreement, but RCEP nations at that ceremony openly said that they will welcome if India wants to become a part of RCEP agreement. So let's see what are the main objectives of RCEP in terms of international trade and how does it coincide with China's objectives. So uh, the main objective of RCEP deal is that the member countries will try to reduce their trade barriers by over 90%, trade barriers for goods and services by over 90% in next 5 to 10 years. And since the inception of RCEP agreement, which is since 2020, it intends to add 500 million US dollars to world trade by 2030. And we see that China, if you see in this graph, in this figure, China is the largest country in this block, and it is not only largest by its size, geopolitical size, but geographical size, but also the economic size. That China has the largest GDP in China is the country with the largest GDP in this block, right? And it is expected to gain 100 billion US dollars in revenue uh, after signing the RCEP deal with other member nations. And since India has withdraw from the RCEP agreement, it intends to gain more edge in the deal. And China is also expected to cover one third of its loss from the trade war with USA, which it indulged in during the coronavirus pandemic and even before the pandemic. So China also intends to use RCEP to advance its policy of Made in China 2025. Now, if we combine the economics of RCEP and we see how economics of China blends with it. So, among top 20 trading partners, there are 8 countries that are the members of RCEP, right? So, if we see in this table, we can see that China is already the largest trading partner with Australia, Indonesia, Myanmar, New Zealand, Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, right? And it is also the second largest trading partner with the other countries, right? So it is the largest or second largest trading partner with almost all the countries in the RCEP agreement, right? Now this is the GDP distribution of each member states of RCEP, and we can clearly see that China's share of GDP is the largest, right? China is the largest economy, second largest economy in the world, and largest economy in the RCEP bloc. So China has clearly a benefit and advantage of economic supremacy and economic dominance in the RCEP agreement over other members. So let's see that key takeaways in the economic implications over China from the RCEP. So the deal will obviously, as I mentioned before, it will help China recover one third of its losses, which it incurred from the trade war with US. So according to research, China intends to increase its trade by 1.5% and GDP by 2.5%, given that it resolves or removes all the border and behind the border barriers with RCEP member nations. And obviously, when the trade barriers will get removed, it will help in improving allocation efficiency. It will help in improving allocation efficiency of resources and improving industrial productivity. So RCEP will add 186 US billion dollar per year to the global economy, and it will add 428 US billion dollars to member states by 2030. And also few more things which I would like to say, that RCEP is also the largest economic agreement between ever in the global economy, and it is, at least to give some specific numbers, it is at least 4.5 times bigger than the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, and it is also 5 times than the European Union trade which happens currently, right? And it also hosts the 30% of world's population or world's trade. It The 30% of the world trade happen in the RCEP member nations. So this is clearly uh, a very huge economic event, international economic and trade event, which happened during the coronavirus pandemic. Now let's see what happens to the geopolitical implications, because we cannot ignore the geopolitics of any trade agreement, as it is very important. It goes in parallelly with the economics of any agreement. So if you see the global map, China, the RCEP agreement seems quite odd, because all the countries which are the member nations have directly or indirectly confronted China over the South China Sea dispute, right? And it is also vice versa, right? China has poked the nose of every country in the South China Sea on this dispute, right? So China, during the before, during, and even after the signing of RCEP agreement, China is in direct confrontation with the Japan. It is in direct confrontation due to the Taiwan issue, right? It is in direct confrontation with these ASEAN nations over the same South China dispute. there has been some diplomatic issues between Australia and China as well. Uh, so, and recently the violation of human rights in Chinese territory has become an issue between Western countries or developed countries such as Australia and New Zealand with China. Right? So uh, that is why it becomes odd, right? Given the geopolitical tensions between China and the ASEAN and other nations, the 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 economic cooperation seems odd, but it also seems a positive step because it shows that the economic um, consideration is overpowering the land the sea disputes between the nations, right? So then in China, obviously being a economic superpower and being close to a military superpower, sees does not see South China Sea as a dispute because they clearly have an military supremacy over Southeast Asian nations, right? And they clearly have an economic supremacy over Southeast Asian nations and RCEP members, right? So China will see RCEP agreement as a geopolitical win for themselves because now this shifting focus from west to east, right? Now the with the failure of Trans-Pacific Partnership when US opted out from the TPP agreement, they clearly see that the economic there is going to be an economic shift from Western nations to Eastern nations now, right? And this will result in Chinese dominance, right? China is already the second largest economy in the world, right? And with this agreement, China will have a clear edge over will enhance its economic supremacy. So, as in this figure, we can see that China is the largest trading partner with 124 nations in the world, as compared to America, which is the largest trade partner with only 56 nations in the world. Right? And with the trade liberalization in the RCEP and Southeast Asian region, we will see that the supply chain efficiency will also be enhanced, right? Even currently, we are heavily dependent upon China for its global value chains and supply chains, right? And this will enhance this efficiency. This will increase the dependence over China, right? And obviously, the RCEP agreement is uh, will also host the one of the largest population on the globe. It will host the largest group of population on the globe. So this is also an advantage for China. Right? And the RCEP agreement also is an win-win for geopolitical win for China because it does not include the United States of America. It clearly excludes it. Right? It isolates it from the trade, and given its exclusion from TPP agreement, makes it worse for China, for US, and makes it better for China. Right? And we also see now there will be going to be an institutional transition, right? Now the countries are in the developing or poor countries are usually dependent upon International Monetary Fund or World Bank or other United Nations agencies, which are usually uh, influenced by Western nations. But now, with the signing of RCEP agreement and enhancing China's role, we will see that these nations will now approach new institutions such as New Development Bank of by BRICS, Asian Development Bank, or Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Right. So this is going to be a win for contested multilateralism. Right. Then it will be an interesting to see that how China will advance its Belt and Road Initiative with the signing of RCEP agreement. Belt and Road Initiative is one of the projects which China wants to implement globally, but has faced several criticisms from Western nations. But it has been received not, I would say, warmly received, but I would say received by some few countries in the Southeast Asian region, right? So it will be interesting to see how China will expand its BRI initiative with the advent of now trade liberalization among the RCEP members. Of course, if it is a win for China, that does not mean that it will be any cakewalk for China as well. It will be a process of RCEP will be a process of difficult integration because China, politically or ideologically, China is a very different nation as compared to Southeast Asian nation, right? Another challenge will be an economic one. So as we saw that China, there is no comparison between China and other RCEP member nations except for a few such as South Korea and Japan or Australia or New Zealand. But the other mostly ASEAN nations have a very small proportion of GDP as compared to China in the RCEP, right? So there will be an issue where China may be uh, China may be it will be difficult for China to reap some benefits back from the ASEAN nations, right? It may be the case that China is uh, the only revenue generating um, country in the bloc, which is not good. I mean, imbalance is good if you want to create if a country wants to create dominance, but it is the extreme imbalances does not make a good multilateral trade agreement, right? And also the problem all will also rise uh, from within the Chinese geographical region where it was also during the time of negotiations that policy elites were not satisfied with were not content, or they were not supporting the RCEP because of its contradictions in the South China Sea disputes, and also uh, political and ideological contradictions, differences between the ASEAN nations and China. So, and this was a reason that there was some refrain from within the China to enter RCEP agreement. But at the end, China decided to uh, enter into the agreement, right? So, and then again, China Japan dispute I already mentioned in the geopolitical implications. But the new after joining RCEP, we witnessed that quadrilateral initiative between India, Australia, Japan, and USA started gaining momentum, and it was something interesting because Quad is basically the military partnership. Till now, it is a military partnership, and it will be interesting to see actually how China and the whole RCEP actually will try to balance between the economic and geopolitical implications of the deal and the global of the international order, the global international order. So, uh, so this is where the geopolitical implications for China ends. Now, I have some questions for you if you would like to, I mean, brainstorm upon. Like, what if India would have joined the RCEP agreement? I mean, what will be its implication for India as well as the RCEP agreement as well as for the global trade? And second question, which I was thinking about is that what are the implications of India not joining the RCEP? I mean, where does India as well as RCEP as well as global economy loses if India has not joined the RCEP agreement, both economically and geopolitically? And again, what would have been the benefits if uh, uh, what are the benefits that India has not joined RCEP for India as well as RCEP and global trade? And has India gained anything from not joining RCEP both economically and politically? That that is something I was thinking about. But maybe if the same question arises to you, you could also try answering it. So this is all from my side, and I hope you learned something from this video. And if you have any questions, you may ask me in in by writing in the comment section. And thank you so much for watching this video. And bye. Keep learning.